Citizens of the Federation and her allies, it is my honor to introduce the official Starfleet Ships of the Line Museum. This undertaking, made possible by the help of so many of you, is to educate the galaxy at large about the history of some of the greatest ships to serve in Starfleet, and allow you to look at full-sized replicas of the ships, lovingly recreated and restored. Please, take your time and peruse this look back at our history. I know that I, myself, have already spent several days staring in wonder at these pieces of the past, preserved and revived for this day. After one standard Earth Day, the exhibit will move to several museums and galleries around the galaxy, but it will be visible once a year above Earth Space Dock and Deep Space Nine on this most important date.
Hello everybody, welcome to Star Trek Online. I am your host, Brent Justice. Welcome to my gaming channel, Just Gaming for Us, and welcome to Star Trek Online. As you see here, the Federation President, Okeg, has let us know that there is a museum of sorts in orbit right now in Earth Space Dock. And there is one above DS9, and this museum will be moving to different areas, but for right now, it's here. Now, why is this here? Well, it is Star Trek's birthday. That's right, it all started on September 8th of 1966, and here we are now, days from that in 2020. And Star Trek is still in the minds and hearts and on the tongue of everybody out there. So, absolutely amazing franchise, naturally. So I wanted to visit this museum that's in orbit here. And, well, here it is. Look at this. You've got the Uss Enterprise, the Uss Enterprise, the Uss Defiant, the Uss Voyager, the Uss Enterprise, the Uss Enterprise, the Enterprise, the Uss Discovery, the Uss Enterprise, the Uss Enterprise. Well, you get the idea. This is all about the main ships of the show and movie. Shows and movies. So we can go to each one, and there's should be some dialogue. When we click each one, it will say something and give us some background information. And if you click all of them, you get a special accolade. And I want to get that accolade. So let's do this. I'm going to fly up to each one, and we're going to take a look. Starting with, well, the original, the TOS. Of course, I'm flying right past it, so let's not do that. I'm trying to get as close as I can, and I have completely failed at that. I wanted to get a good shot of it. There it is. The Uss Enterprise. The original right there. Let's take a look at it.
Space. The final frontier.
The most celebrated starship of her time, the Constitution-class Enterprise had over 40 years in service to Starfleet, most of that time, including her celebrated 5-year mission from 2265 to 2270, was under the command of James T. Kirk. Besides her initial mission goals of seeking out new life and new civilizations, the Enterprise assisted many in need throughout the galaxy and defended the Federation from threats such as Khan Noonien Singh. In her final flight, she was commandeered from Starfleet by the most famous captain crew before being destroyed over the Genesis planet. Notable crew members: James T. Kirk, Spock, Leonard McCoy, Montgomery Scott, Ikura Sulu, Nyota Uhura, and Pavel Chekhov. So, Star Trek aired from September 8th, 1966 to June 3rd, 1969. It was a short series. Most people don't realize that. It had only 79 episodes, which today, that I don't know. You know, I wasn't alive back in 1966, so I can't tell you what the average number of episodes for a TV show were. But it's short in scope because There are TV shows now that go 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons and so forth. But then again, on the flip side, there are shorter shows that only have like 13 episodes a season and are short now. So I don't know. But 79 episodes, that's what it got. And it was canceled, I think, maybe. If I recall correctly, it was canceled and not renewed or something like that. So, yeah, I believe it was canceled. And then it was just a miracle they got the first movie much later, obviously. Without the original series, none of us would be here today. The iconic show aired for just 3 seasons in late 1960s. I guess that is short, having been saved from cancellation several times by fan campaigns. So imagine, even back then, without social media, even using just snail mail and phone calls, they got it saved several times from cancellation. That's amazing. However, when the show moved to syndication, its popularity exploded, leading to 6. So that's how it got the 6 featured films with the original cast. The show has inspired people from all walks of life, including scientists who cite Star Trek as the inspiration for inventions like the cell phone. And it's true, there actually was a cell phone called the Star Trek phone. I had one. It was a black phone. I can't remember the brand and all that stuff on it, but it was a flip phone, and it had a screen on one side and then the screen on the other side. And it was actually dubbed the Star Trek phone. I wish I could remember what phone that was. Anyway, point is, I had one of those. So, yep. Now, interesting thing about the original Star Trek, for me anyway, is that is what I started on Star Trek. I, in fact, started with the original series when I was a kid. Had a friend that I stayed at his house after school every day. And his father had recorded on VHS the entire TOS series. And while I stayed at his house there, I watched every single episode of the original series. Like I'd like watch an episode a day. And that's what got me into Star Trek. So I started with the original and moved in order live. So that was pretty exciting for me anyway. Okay, so the Enterprise D, obviously, looking pretty good. Deflector's not lit up. Alright, let's see.
Let's make sure that history never forgets the name.
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Good clips. The 5th ship to bear, I guess we're not going in order, are we? Because this is not the next ship. The next ship is the refit Enterprise A. Anyway, whatever. Well, I guess we're not going to go in order. The 5th ship to bear both the Enterprise name and her iconic 1701 registry. The Enterprise D is an iconic piece of Federation history. Led by the principles of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, this legendary vessel ventured into a galaxy much changed since the original NCC-1701 had gone on her 5-year mission. During her time among the stars, the Enterprise D was present a part of many major historical events, including the first encounters with both the Q Continuum and the Borg. Without the dedication of her brave crew, many more lives would likely have been lost in these incidents. Notable crew members: Jean-Luc Picard, William Riker, Beverly Crusher, Worf, Data, Geordi LaForge, Deanna Troi, Wesley. They put Wesley Crusher as a notable crew member. They put Pulaski as a notable crew member. Tasha Yar. They put Tasha Yar last, really. Star Trek The Next Generation aired from September 28, 1987 to May 23, 1994. 176 episodes, 7 seasons. Now, this series I did watch when it was new, but however, in 1987, I was like 7 years old. So I don't remember if I saw it when it aired, because I can't remember what I did when I was 7 years old. It might have been just a little bit later that I started the series. But I will say this, growing up, I definitely watched it. In the original series, if the original series is the point from which all Star Trek originates, The Next Generation was the franchise's first great test. While the movies with the cast of the original series were popular in cinemas, the idea of creating a sequel to the show with all new characters was a bold one that could have fallen flat on its face. Thankfully, Gene Roddenberry chose an excellent cast and an amazing group of writers to carry on his legacy. Because of the success of TNG, Star Trek lives on. And some would say TNG was the best one. It certainly, 7 seasons, very long, so it had its time, but it really redefined the show and defined it in a good way. Brought it into the modern era, and it's still today. You can rewatch all episodes of Star Trek the Next Generation, and you can. It still feels modern. It doesn't feel so outdated. Some of the terminology sometimes is a little, and sometimes it feels like it could be every now and then, especially in the early parts. Because of things we have now, but still, it's a show you can watch that ages well over time. Let's move on to the USS Defiant. Now we are going in order because Deep Space Nine was after TNG, or actually during TNG. I should take that back. DS9 came on during the run of TNG, so don't forget that. And now this one for Deep Space Nine, I do remember sitting on the couch when this debuted on television for the first time. So I watched this series live from the debut. View the USS Defiant, NX-74205.
We are explorers. We explore our lives, day by day. And we explore the galaxy, trying to expand the boundaries of our knowledge. And that is why I am here. Not to conquer you with weapons or with ideas, but to coexist and learn.
I have to say, the early seasons of DS9, while a little rough, are very exciting, especially the very first episode. It's literally, it is stepping into a whole new Star Trek, and it was a very, very neat experience live for the first time. The Defiant class project was begun in 2366 as a response to the increased Borg threats to the Federation. This tough little ship was Starfleet's first real attempt at a warship, with almost no scientific equipment on board. Unfortunately, she did not pass her trials, and the project was put on hold until Commander Benjamin Sisko, a member of the Defiant team, asked for her to be assigned to Deep Space Nine to hold off the threat of the Dominion. From there, she served with distinction in the Dominion War and remained in service until her destruction in 2375. The USS Sao Paulo was assigned to Deep Space Nine and renamed the Defiant in her honor. Notable crew members: Benjamin Sisko, Jadzia Dax, Ezri Dax, Worf, Julian Bashir, Miles O'Brien, Kira Nerys, Nog, Odo, Quark, and Jake Sisko. Star Trek Deep Space Nine aired from January 3rd, 1993 to June 1999, 173 episodes. Star Trek Deep Space Nine is one of the most beloved series in Star Trek's history, and with good reason, introducing some of Star Trek's most memorable characters and a deeper, more nuanced look at the Federation society. DS9 told some unforgettable stories. The impact of its serialized style can still be felt today in modern Star Trek television. Voyager. Now, this one I was also into when it originally aired, so I saw it on the original air, and since then I have seen Voyager probably like 10 times all the way through. Voyager is one of my favorites. Besides TNG, I'd say Voyager is next in line. I really, really liked Voyager. Now, it can be controversial. And I don't know why. I don't know why it gets that hate. I honestly do not, because I love Voyager. I will say it proudly and loudly. I love Voyager. Voyager is a great series. Voyager is great on repeat. It is very rewatchable, and it's very modern. Obviously, it takes place in more modern times, and I was older at the time, so I understood it a bit better. But for me, it is just it's so good. It's just really good. I love the scientificness, if that's a word, the scientificness of it. I love all the technology talk and speak. It was just so much more. Obviously, it like every series, you know, there were things I wish I would. There were things I would change in it, but nothing is perfect. But it's a great series, and I love it.
In a region where shifting allegiances are commonplace, we have to have something stable to rely on. And we do. The principles and ideals of the Federation.
The USS Voyager holds the distinction of the starship that explored the most unknown space during the course of her voyage, although this was not her intended mission. During a mission to secure the Maquis terrorists on board the Valjean, the ship encountered a being known as the Caretaker and was thrust 70,000 light-years into the Delta Quadrant. For 7 years, under the more than capable command of Captain Janeway, the crew searched for a way to return to the Alpha Quadrant and their loved ones, finally succeeding in 2378. The scientific and anthropological data brought back from her voyage was instrumental to the Federation's understanding of the varied species and locales of the Delta Quadrant, knowledge that is still referenced to this day. Notable crew members: Catherine Janeway, Tuvok Chakotay, Harry Kim, Tom Paris, 7 of 9, B'Elanna Torres, the Doctor, Neelix, and Kes. I mean, come on. It really was a great cast of people. And the Doctor, I mean, just amazing. I mean, he came into his own in many ways here. And poor Harry Kim never getting a level up. I mean, just an ensign for the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's really a great series. And really sad that they they got rid of Kes. I really liked Kes. I liked her character. I liked where it was potentially heading. They replaced Kes with 7 of 9. 7 of 9 did great. I love 7 of 9. I just wish they didn't have to kick Kes out to get 7 of 9 in there. Why not keep both? But, you know, that's how it went. Aired from January 16th, 1995 to May 23rd, 2001. 168 episodes. Star Trek Voyager was the first and still only Star Trek television show to star a female Starfleet captain. During its 7-year run, it returned to the original Star Trek model of exploring a completely unknown part of space. The show is also notable for its deeper dive into one of Star Trek's iconic enemies, the Borg, providing new layers and details to that terrifying alien race. Yeah, the Borg was pretty much redefined in Voyager. Very different from what they encountered in the TNG version of the Borg. That can maybe be explained, but yeah, that's somewhat a debate there. But yeah, the Borg definitely changed in Voyager, but I think for the better. I think they're more menacing post-Voyager Borg. Anyway, yeah, love Voyager. USS Enterprise NCC 1701E, seen only for a brief time in the movie land. I really wish it had more movie time or screen time, because I think the E is probably the most beautiful Enterprise design besides the D that I've seen. It is just so elegant. It is so good. It is so modern. I really would like to have seen more of the E. Why did they have to change that so quickly here? I just wanted to see more from it. All right, well, let's read.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
After the destruction of the Enterprise D in 2371, this Sovereign-class vessel was rechristened in her honor and launched as the Enterprise E. The crew of the previous Enterprise was transferred over mostly intact and continued to serve under the command of Jean-Luc Picard. Sleeker and arguably more powerful than her predecessor, the Enterprise E served with distinction in several major Starfleet crises, including the Borg invasion of Earth's past, the conflict with the Sona, and the battle with the Romulan Shinzon. Notable crew members: Jean-Luc Picard, William Riker, Beverly Crusher, Worf, Data, Geordi, Deanna. It was in First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis, and obviously, because there are no more movies after that, we just didn't see it. I guess it does have an end. I don't know what its end actually is. Like, I think in the lore, which I don't know if that's canon or not, it gets lost. Data becomes captain of the Enterprise E, and it gets lost in space, literally. That's like the lore leading up to 2409 for this game. But I don't know if that's changed, and I don't know if that's canon. Probably not. So really, there's just not a conclusion, a real canon conclusion to the E. The crew of the Star Trek The Next Generation became the second Starfleet crew to receive their own series of movies, beginning with Star Trek Generations in 1994. The Enterprise E is the first ship in Trek to replace her predecessor with a completely new class. The TNG movies are a legacy of the impact Picard and crew had on pop culture. Yeah, I just wish we had more E. That's all I'm saying. I want more E. Oh gosh, okay, so they have an alternate universe Enterprise in here. Well, you know, I guess I should have expected it, right? So there's the Kelvin Enterprise. I don't know which version. Is it the A? Is it the refit? Is it the original one? I don't know. I don't care. Let's read about it.
Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's and yours. I dare you to do better.
It's a good line. I'll give that line credit. That's a good line. The ship you are viewing is a replica of a ship from an alternate universe. Thank you for spelling it out and making it clear it's an alternate universe. During the destruction of Romulus, Ambassador Spock and a Romulan terrorist known as Nero were pulled back in a black hole and transferred back in time to 2233. Nero's ship, the Narada, engaged with the USS Kelvin, creating a branching timeline that resulted in many changes from the history we know. Yes, circle that, underline that, bold that. Knowledge of this universe, including this alternate version of the historic Enterprise, was gained during the Sphere Builder incident in 2410. Crew members James T. Kirk, Spock, Leonard McCoy, Montgomery Scott, Karsulu, Pavel Chekhov, and even the android 0718. The Kelvin timeline films were an alternate retelling of the history of the classic original series. In order to retell the story with a modern sensibility, the decision was made to set the films in an alternate universe. A brilliant decision that allowed new actors, sets, and stories while still connecting to the original Star Trek continuity. A young cast took over the classic roles from the original series and played them to perfection. I'm glad how they spell that out here. This is really, really well written, and I'm glad that they distinctly separate this different timeline, this different Enterprise, the different cast, the different movies, as an alternate retelling of Star Trek, an alternate timeline. I can buy that. As long as they don't sell it off as prime timeline, I can buy that. I can buy it. Oh, it looks like we're coming up on the Nx01 Enterprise. Now, interesting story about this Enterprise. First of all, the series Enterprise. People may not realize this, but when the show started, Enterprise, it was not called Star Trek Enterprise. No, the show was just called Enterprise, with no Star Trek attached to it. Also, the ship, the Nx01, is not a USS anything. It's just Nx01 Enterprise. Now, the reason why the show was not called Star Trek Enterprise is they were trying to do something a little different. They wanted a more, literally, they wanted a more general sci-fi kind of thing. They didn't want to have that Star Trek attached to it, and I don't know all the reasoning why. I don't know, their motivations and all that, but it just seemed like they wanted to detach that a little bit and give them a little more freedom in storytelling, perhaps. Also, they could call the ship Enterprise that way, and they wanted to kind of hit home that this Enterprise is not in the ship of the lines of the Enterprise's ships, that it's separate, because it's not a Federation starship, it's a Starfleet starship, because this is pre-Federation. Therefore, it could be named Enterprise, but still not be in the line of Federation ships, because it's not a Federation ship. So it's a little confusing, and all their motivations and reasoning and all that, a little convoluted. But here's the thing, here's what happened, is fans, they fought back. And, well, eventually they caught on that, yes, okay, we are making Star Trek, and they did name the show Star Trek Enterprise, or renamed it, I should say. So in later seasons, then now it was Star Trek Enterprise, and they tried to make the ship fit in with all the other Federation Enterprises. So, a little bit of backstory there on that. You can read, if you Google it, I'm sure you can read a lot more about it. Now, this series was probably the most controversial series yet. When Enterprise debuted, a lot of people felt just like they did with the Kelvin timeline Star Trek or Discovery today. They felt that it wasn't Star Trek. They felt that it was diverging from what Star Trek is, and the storytelling wasn't as good. And a lot of people didn't see it or want to recognize it as Star Trek. But it kind of grew on you over time, and it consistently got better. So at this point, people pretty much do consider it Star Trek. It is Star Trek through and through. And actually, if you go watch all the episodes on repeat, go watch them all again now, much later, they're actually really good. I did that recently because I watched it when it was new, but then I went back probably like a year or two ago and rewatched all of the episodes again. And you know what? It was much better for me this time. I actually liked it a lot. And I really saw it as a beginning of Star Trek. It looked like, here's the beginning of the Federation, the beginning of what we know today. So I think it actually is good in hindsight. It might not have been taken as well when it was on the air, but I think in hindsight, now, years later, it's actually pretty good. Go watch it if you've never seen it. It's actually pretty good. And it did get better toward the end. That's the unfortunate part about it, is that they got Ronald, I think his name is Ronald, it's Ron or Ronald, Ronald D. Moore. They got him to come on and pretty much take over the last season of Enterprise. And what he did was totally transform it and make it Star Trek. We started getting good stories that answered big questions, like why the Klingons look different in TOS with, no ridged foreheads, and then now, later, they had ridged foreheads. They actually tackled that debacle and answered it and gave us an answer in canon that makes 100% sense, dealing with well, I won't spoil it if you've never seen it. Go watch it. It's in the 4th season. Totally explains. It's like a 2 or 3-parter. Totally explains the whole Klingon thing, and it makes sense. And then they tackled other problems like the building and beginning of the Federation. And the Mirror Universe episodes. Who can forget those? Some of the best right there in Star Trek Enterprise, the Mirror Universe episodes. And it's just a shame that it got canceled at the end of that season. If it had another season, a 5th season, if it had just one more season, Ronald E. Moore was going to take over and give us a lot of good stuff for the 5th season. There was going to be more of those Mirror Universe episodes. There was going to be just a lot of good stuff, and I think if it had gotten just one more season, one more chance, I think it might have continued to even another season, and maybe another season. Might have gone 6 or 7 seasons, because it started getting better, and it was that 4th season that did it. It's just unfortunate that the decision was pretty much already made prior to the 4th season coming out that it was going to be canceled. And that's just a shame. I just wish it had another season to really prove itself, because I think it would have gotten better. It's a show that consistently got better every season. All right, let's read about it now. I've babbled on enough here.
We'll find a way through this. But I won't leave anyone behind. Not if I can help it. I can't try to save humanity without holding on to what makes me human.
In 2151, before the Federation had even been formed, the first Starfleet ship to bear the name Enterprise was launched. She was the first ship capable of going warp 5, a huge leap forward. This experimental new ship was meant to be a test run until an encounter with a Klingon changed everything. Under the command of Jonathan Archer, she served with distinction until 2161, when she was retired with full honors. During her historic voyage in the stars, she was instrumental in protecting humanity from many threats, including the Xindi weapon. Notable crew members: Jonathan Archer, T'Pol, Charles Tucker III, Malcolm Reed, Travis Mayweather, Hoshi Sato, and Phlox. Now, talking about the characters here, first of all, I loved the casting of Scott Bakula for Jonathan Archer. I love Scott Bakula. I watched the series Quantum Leap. That's where I know him from. And I watched that prior to him coming on to Enterprise. So I knew him from Quantum Leap, and I loved Quantum Leap. So Scott Bakula, I thought, was a great actor. I thought he was the right choice. I just think he was directed a little wrong. He was a little more harsh. He was supposed to be more Kirk-like, but they made him too harsh, too angry, too yelly. But that was just in the directing right there. T'Pol, good. Charles Tucker III, I mean, he's a meme at this point. He really is. He's a meme at this point. Not dead. That's the meme. Not dead. And Hoshi Sato, oh man, she's beautiful. Let me tell you, watch the Mirror Universe episode with Empress Hoshi Sato, and your jaw will drop. And Phlox was an interesting character as well. Aired from September 26, 2001 to May 13, 2005. 97 episodes. It got more than the original series. The last show to carry the Star Trek banner for 12 years, Enterprise told the story of one of the least explored areas in Star Trek history, the time before the founding of the Federation. This low-tech, character-focused take on Star Trek boldly went into the future of television, refusing to let the torch burn out. It is remembered for its excellent take on classic Trek stories and for its depiction of events that led to the formation of the United Federation of Planets. Again, I think this is a great time period to explore. I like that early 22nd century time period. Very exciting time. And then I think another series could work right after the founding of the Federation. You could have one like around, let's say, 10 years after the founding of the Federation. Have it set in like 2170. Or 2171, exactly 10 years after the founding of the Federation. I think that time period would be a very exciting time to explore a Star Trek series. Imagine all the new exploration happening at that time. They would have, by that time, Warp 7 ships. So they would be going even farther than the Warp 5 ships went. So that would be the new big thing. It would be the Warp 7 ships. It would be amazing. I would love to see a series like that, honestly. So again, one thing this series did was really bring social media into the mix, because this was the time when people were really starting to argue and debate television shows on forums, specifically forums on the internet. So you would go to like a Star Trek website, like for example, I went to one called Trek BBS, and it was a forum where people vehemently discuss Star Trek, and we did these things called live running commentary threads. So while the show was being aired live, we'd create a live commentary thread, and people would post in the thread as they're watching the show, leaving their comments and everything. Very, very cool stuff. And then you do a review of it, and like people would leave their review of each episode in the threads, and there would just be huge discussions. And this is where all that debate about the show came in, because people now had a platform to really discuss all this stuff and debate it in an open way like that with the social medias. And that is similar to today, where like the Discovery series and so forth are really discussed on social media like that. Enterprise was the beginning of that. So that was very cool. I just thought I'd tell you that. I spent a lot of time on that, I know, I'm sorry. But a lot of good information there. Okay, now we come to the Discovery, and see, here's my problem with Discovery. They want to sell it as prime timeline, but the aesthetics of it don't fit with what we know of that time period. Remember, this takes place during Kirk's time. Nothing in the show reflects anything of the aesthetics of the original series. Nothing in it. It's totally different. Now, I would buy it if it was a vastly different time period. Have Discovery set in like 2180, 2190, or right there at the beginning of 2300, maybe, or 2200, excuse me. The year 20, like the very beginning, the very first year of the 23rd century. Maybe at that time period, I could buy the ships and design and all that. Maybe it would fit in there, but when the problem is they set it in Kirk's time, 10 years before he takes control of the Enterprise, and everything's way different. And that's what I can't buy. It's just too close to that. You already had the original series. You didn't need a series that is pushed so close to each other like that. You don't need that. You need to separate them more. If it was separated more, maybe that would feel better. But the problem is it's too close to the original series. It doesn't need to be that close. The original series already exists, and it's there. You don't need to overwrite it or rewrite it or reimagine it. It doesn't need to happen. Just put yourself in just put the show in a different time period, different era, and then it would work. That's all you got to do. But they didn't do that, and so it just feels awkward.
The only way to defeat fear is to tell it no. No. We will not take shortcuts on the path to righteousness. No. We will not break the rules that protect us from our basest instincts. No. We will not allow desperation to destroy moral authority.
With her exploits only recently rediscovered after years of the highest classification, the USS Discovery is an important part of Federation history that we are only just learning about. See, that's dumb. If it's history, we would know about it. We wouldn't just be knowing about it. That's weird. It was discovered that one of her captains, Gabriel Lorca, had been replaced by his counterpart from the Mirror Universe during the Prior's World incident. Way to spoil Season 1, by the way. After the removal from command, the Discovery was instrumental in ending the First Federation Klingon War and in stopping the threat of the rogue AI known as Control. The ship then disappeared into the far future where all of her recorded history has been lost, or rather hasn't happened yet. Notable crew members: Gabriel Lorca, Saru, Michael Burnham, Paul Stamets, Ellen Landry, Ash Tyler, Hugh Colber, Sylvia Tilly, Ariam, Jet Reno, Philippa Giorgio, Christopher Pike, and Spock. Began airing on September 24, 2017, 29 episodes as of this writing, so obviously the least amount so far. Star Trek Discovery is the triumphant return of Star Trek to television after 12 long years. The first show to star a character who was not the ship's captain. Discovery set out to begin a bold new era in Star Trek storytelling with serialized continuing stories. The show tells the story of the Federation's history, including the first war with the Klingons, and it's continuing on today, telling the story of the Federation in the far, far future. Now, see, again, it was this change here where they based the show not on the captain of a ship. That is also different. So they changed the whole aesthetics of Star Trek, put it in Kirk's time, the TOS Star Trek's time period, and then changed the whole format of the show from what we're used to, not following a lead captain on a ship. All that at once is so jarring. So you can just imagine that it's going to throw a wrench in the works there. Again, I think the series could work, just not in this time period. It's in the wrong place in history. Set it farther back. Set it back to the beginning of the 23rd century. Make it, 50, 60 years before Kirk. Then it kind of makes sense. That's all I'm saying. Okay, let's go on to the next Enterprise in the lineup here. We got the this one's interesting. Why don't I know this one? USS Enterprise 1701 2257. Which one is that? Okay, let's see.
Wherever our mission takes us, we'll try to have a little fun along the way too, huh?
Oh,
make a little
okay.
noise, ruffle a few feathers.
Okay, I got it. This is the Discovery Enterprise, the one that looks different from. See, again, here's my whole point. This is the Enterprise. This is the one that Kirk takes over. Why does it look so different from the one Kirk flew? It's the same ship. It shouldn't look like that. It should look like the TOS Enterprise. So that makes no sense. They wouldn't have had to do something like this if the show was set, 50 years prior to this. Then they wouldn't have to worry about something like this, which makes no sense. It's stuff like this that bugs me. This replica is an example of the design iteration on one of the most famous of starships. While the Enterprise's most famous appearance is seen earlier in this museum, this is an example of what the ship looked like in 2257 under the command of Christopher Pike. But that's not true. While James T. Kirk may cast the longest shadow in Starfleet, Pike was a kind and deeply effective captain who led the Enterprise to explore many strange new worlds. It's interesting to see the differences between this vessel and Kirk's Enterprise, and an encouragement to all Starfleet officers to always be thinking of the future and how to improve on past designs. But see, this ship looks more futuristic than the one Kirk's flying. It's dumb. Christopher Pike, Una, aka Number 1, Spock, and Non. This is the version of the USS Enterprise that appeared in Star Trek Discovery. While she is the same ship that appeared in the original series, not. She has been recreated with a modern design sensibility and current graphical technology. While she has a distinct sleek look, she still has the same profile that made us all fall in love with Kirk's Enterprise. We'll see more of this ship when the new show, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. That's right, I forgot about that. They are doing another show, aren't they? A Captain Pike show, and they're going to use this Enterprise. This thing looks more modern than Kirk's Enterprise. That just doesn't make sense. I'm not buying it. I'm not there for it. Alright, Enterprise, the NCC 1701F. Now this one I do like the design on. I think it is a good progression from the E. It's got the same lines and configuration of the E, but more modern. I love the kind of pass-through hole here. You can go between there. This one, interesting story about its design, was created by fans. That's right, Star Trek Online, many, many, many years ago, held a contest, and it was a Design the Enterprise F contest. And the winner would literally get their ship built and made and put in the game, and that would become the next Enterprise. That would become the Enterprise F. And so that's what happened. I don't know the name of the person who won, I apologize, but this is their design, and their design made it into the game and has been the Enterprise F as long as this game has existed. Now, is that canon to the show? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Some would argue, though, that it should be, because Star Trek Online has pretty much taken the reins on Star Trek for all this time. But I would imagine if they wanted to, they could totally bring in another Enterprise, an F, that looks totally different than this in a series or whatever. So who knows? But right now it's not touched on because they haven't even talked about what happened to the E in the series. We don't know where the E is at or what its status is really in the show.
Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why.
Happy Star Trek Day.
Theirs but to do and die. Into the Valley of Death rode the 600.
The flagship of Starfleet, the Enterprise F, has served during some of the most tumultuous years in Federation history, from the war with the Klingon Empire to the catastrophic battles of the Iconian War, the conflict with the Zenkethi and the Herc, and the current troubles in the Klingon Empire. It's hard to believe this ship has only been in service for 2 years. In 2409, she launched under the command of Raquel Shawn and has been keeping us safe ever since. We at this museum hope that as long as there is a Federation, there will be a ship to bear the name Enterprise. Raquel Shawn, Samuel Winters, Jarrell Kev, Tim Inasi, Saval, Philippia Matthias, Kiona, and Karushi O'Brien. Launched February 2nd, 2010. 185 episodes as of this writing. I'm guessing that's the game missions. We hope you've enjoyed visiting the Star Trek Museum and for helping us celebrate more than 50 years of the franchise. We live in one of the greatest eras of Trek. Debatable. I will give it this. It's the only era that has Star Trek Online, and I do enjoy this game. So, there's that. With more shows, comics, novels, and video games coming every day, and it has, well, I don't know if that's such a good thing, because some of them have not been so good. I want good Star Trek content. And it has been an honor to keep that fire burning in Star Trek Online. Thank you for spending the time with us, and here's to many more years of the Final Frontier. So you can see I got my accolade. And I have a new title choice now called Historical Document Expert. So Historical Document Expert. I can put that on as a title if I want. But that's the accolade you get for clicking on each one, and that is to celebrate Star Trek's birthday. Now, there's one ship missing from this that I am sad about. Where is the A? Where is the refit from the movie? Well, actually, there was two refits if you think about it. One there, because the movie Enterprise. I'm talking about the very first movie, the motion picture, the one with V'ger. That was a refit of the Enterprise. I don't know if it was necessarily -A. Maybe it was. I don't know how they work that in the canon, but it was a refit. It was an upgrade of the NCC 1701. Okay. Then they did officially make a -A, and it had the really cool nacelles, and it was the -A. Where is that? Why is that not here? I want the -A. The Enterprise A should be here, and it is so not. Oh my gosh, what is happening? I'm stuck and going all over the place. Yeah, the Enterprise A is missing here. Instead of this Discovery Enterprise they have over here, they should have the A. Know what I'm saying? I'm disappointed about that fact. The reason why I'm beaming down is because I want to go take a look at it. I want to show you guys the ship that's missing. Because it's iconic too, and I love its design. I really, really love its design. Oh, and where's Enterprise B and C? Wait a minute. Okay, we gotta talk about that. Okay, so yeah, let's go to yeah, here we go. Well, that's the Constitution. Well, it is still Constitution, but it's the refit. Well, where is it in here? Let me see. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that one. That's the one I'm talking about. You know which one I'm talking about. This one. The A. NCC 1701A. Look at those nacelles. Those are beautiful. Look at that design. That should have been out there. This is a ship that should have been out there. I mean, this served as the movie Enterprise, right? I mean, this is the one. This is the one from all the movies, all the way through to the number 6. So this should be out there because this played an integral part of Star Trek history. So this should be there. Period. End of story. Disappointed it's not. Fail. Also, what should be there is the Enterprise B. Where is it at? Yeah, the Enterprise B. This one. That should be there. This was integral in Generations, the movie. And we see it. We saw the bridge of it. We see them do action on it. They use it. It's important. It's also a beautiful design. This should be in there. This should be there. And then, of course, you got the C. What is that under? Commander? Apparently it's not under Commander. Captain? It's not under Captain. Well, I don't know where it's under here. I don't know what it's under here. Maybe... I think it's one of those ships maybe you have to... I don't know. I forget how you get it in the game. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The Enterprise C should be here too. Was in a great episode of TNG and played an integral part of creating Sela and you know, Tasha Yar going on board, and then Sela, who becomes a half Romulan
citizen.
And she's really important to Star Trek, and that whole ship is important because it creates an alternate timeline if the thing doesn't exist. So, yeah, a couple of, I mean, if anything else, the A should be here, but the A, the B, and the C, I would have loved to have seen. I mean, they have the F, they have an alternate Enterprise from 2257 Discovery that doesn't make any sense here. I mean, come on, give me the A, give me the B, give me the C. So I'm a little disappointed that those are missing from this lineup. That needs to be here. But otherwise, I love this idea of putting these ships out here and letting people view them and read about them. Because people might not know the history of Star Trek, you know. They might not know the dates and the years and the episode numbers and all that stuff. So that helps give us some information. So I like this museum idea, and I do hope they continue to do this. This was pretty cool. It's odd. They've never done anything like this in 10 years of this game, but better late than never, I guess. So that's it, everybody. Happy Star Trek anniversary. And, you know, all I can say is I want good Star Trek content. I want material, TV show, movie, whatever, that follows Gene's vision of Star Trek. You have to keep that core vision of Star Trek, because that is what makes Star Trek Star Trek, right? You got to keep that. And if you diverge from that and start trying to modernize it by making the Federation warlike and making it a non-utopian society and all these crazy things that they're trying to push in these newer series and everything, that is not his vision of Star Trek, and that is different. It's a different retelling. Call it a different show. Don't call it Star Trek. You can make up a name, make up a sci-fi name, and call it a different show. Call it inspired by Star Trek, you know, and it's got a different name. That I can live with. But keep Star Trek Star Trek. That's all I'm saying. If you can do that, if they can do that, if they and here's the thing: make Star Trek because you want to make content. Because you want to make Star Trek. Let me rephrase that. Make Star Trek content because you want to make Star Trek content. Don't make Star Trek content or material just to earn a buck and make money. That's what's happening today with Star Trek. It's a money grab. It's a cash grab. It's the name. I'm going to use the name. I'm going to create content, and that's going to generate money for me, or money for the network. No. Instead of doing that, create Star Trek material because you want to create Star Trek material. Be passionate about creating, quote, Star Trek. If you take it from that goal, if you write stories because you want to write good Star Trek stories, then it will be good. But if you write it from a premise of, I've got my own idea of what Star Trek is, I want to reinvent it, I want to push the boundaries, I want to make a lot of money, and I don't care about the history that precedes Star Trek. If you're thinking that way, then don't make Star Trek content. Don't do it. Don't put the TV show out. Don't do anything. Hire people, hire writers that actually want to write Star Trek material. And hire people that know what they're doing and know the history of Star Trek. Very important that you know the history of Star Trek. Know your Star Trek TV series. Know what's come before. That way you can write for the future. If you ignore the past and you ignore what's come before, then the stuff you write moving forward will be utter crap. And that's where I'm going to leave this video. Happy Star Trek Day, everybody. and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you see here, please consider subscribing to my channel and giving this video a like. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. And away we go. Check out Twitter at Brent_Justice for updates. You can follow me there. Also, check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/Brent Justice. This helps support the channel and also allows me to publish more and more videos.